Today is a special day because it is the day that I get to defend vampires trying to take over the world. If you're new here, on this channel I defend both sides of every argument. So if you like the Dawnguard and think that I'm wrong, don't worry. I'll get to their side of the story next week, and make my final judgment the week after that. But for today, I'm going to be a lawyer with a degree as real as Alduin, and defend my clients, the Volkihar clan of vampires. I'm going to do everything in my power, besides lying, to convince you that they are the correct choice. But I will not be making a balanced argument. I will be trying everything just to convince you. So without further ado, let's get started with Exhibit A. The playthrough is genuinely more unique. Now, most of this DLC is going to be exactly the same no matter who you side with. No matter what, you're going to chase down a moth priest, find 2 Elder Scrolls, read them, go to the Forgotten Vale, and kill Harkon. But consider for a moment only the parts that are unique. When you ignore everything after you get the moth priest, all that's left is the intro, the chores, and who is included in the final fight. And let me tell you, running errands for Isran is nowhere near as fun as doing a drug bust and fighting the Dawnguard.
You haven't seen a sack full of dwarven gyros lying around, have you? I'd swear I left it right here.
Sometimes, I think everyone is disappointed by the long slog of repetitive quests that make up the bulk of this DLC, that they miss the forest for the trees, so to speak. My client would like to point out that most people who play this DLC will gladly give up ultimate magical and physical power, not to mention eternal life, and a chance at real-world domination, all for, well, a crossbow. My client would also like to point out that the ultimate prize for this DLC is a bow, meaning the DLC will openly give you a weapon from a god that will replace the weapon you sided with the Dawnguard for. Let me put this to you another way. Would you rather join yet another generic fighting guild in Skyrim? Or would you rather join the most ancient order of powerful vampires ever to exist? Destroy the sun, exercise full dominion over Tamriel, become immortal, and take the vampire court over for yourself. Are we really having this conversation? Is this even a question? In terms of gameplay, my clients represent something that is truly unique, not only for all of Skyrim, but for all of the Elder Scrolls. Millions of players are missing out purely based on prejudice from other fantasy iterations of vampires. If you only get to have one game, make sure you choose the side that lets you fully explore your wildest dreams. And speaking of wild dreams, we have Exhibit B. You get to live out an actual power fantasy. In addition to the gameplay being more fun, you don't have to hide what you really want.
We are among the oldest and most powerful vampires in Skyrim. I offer you my blood. Take it and you will walk as a lion among sheep. Men will tremble at your approach, and you will never fear death again. Perhaps you still need convincing. Behold the power! This is the power that I offer.
People love to make fun of Skyrim because you end up ruling every faction you do quests for. If you join the Dark Brotherhood, you eventually find yourself the Listener. If you join the College, you will eventually become the Archmage, and so on. Yet for some reason, you don't actually get to wield any of the power in any of those quests. Do you really feel like the leader when you're the Archmage, Listener, or Nightingale? Of course not. And yet I have found, and ladies and gentlemen of the court, let me assure you, it boggles my mind, but I have found that people will willingly choose to join a faction they will never rule. Sure, you may sleep at Fort Dawnguard, but you never own it. It might not have crossed your mind, but my friends in the jury, let me assure you that if all you want is a job, you can find one of those in real life. If you want to rule the literal entire world, well, you might have to look to a video game for that. And what better game than Skyrim, where, if you join the Volkihar clan, you not only come to own your own castle with an entire court waiting to do your every whim, but by and by, you will come to own Fort Dawnguard as well, to act as your own personal clubhouse. My client would like to submit for the record that they will change any Dragonborn into the most powerful being in the game instantly, the moment you meet them. And then, as if that wasn't enough, they'll grant you an army of equally powerful beings and the means to take over all of Skyrim. Unlike many other games that tantalize the player with total world domination, the Volkihar clan will actually allow you to do it. And speaking of the means to take over all Skyrim, there is the entire point of the whole DLC, which is Exhibit C. You get to do the whole vampire destroy the sun thing. Now, I need to address a little bit of slander I've heard. This has been directed towards my clients since the very beginning of this DLC becoming available. There are people who believe that the plan laid out by Vurthur and then co-opted by Harkon would lead to everything in Tamriel dying. This is untrue. We know from the events of the First Era that the skies were darkened for over a full year after the eruption of Red Mountain. While crops withered, we would expect a year of no sun to lead to a total extinction event on the levels not seen since the death of the dinosaurs. Yet, is that what happened? No. Here we are, 3 eras later, and there are, if anything, too many people around. If only someone would see to that. Even Valerica, Harkon's greatest foil, does not say that is why she does not support him. What she says is,
what he fails to realize is how much attention would be called to our kind if the prophecy came to fruition. If eternal night fell, there are many who wouldn't stand for it. They would raise armies in attempts to return things to normal. The order of the day would be our destruction, until every last vampire was hunted down and eliminated.
Interesting that she doesn't mention that everyone will die as the planet freezes over. Why is this? Well, Tamriel is not Earth, and Magnus is not the sun. The sun is a ball of gas so heavy it constantly creates fission. This is so hot and radioactive that it radiates heat through space to the Earth, allowing life to exist on our planet. Magnus, on the other hand, is a literal hole in what we might call the firmament, torn open when Magnus left our realm. When you look at Magnus, you are not seeing a star. What you are seeing is a literal hole in the fabric of reality, and the light shining out at you is the realm of Aetherius. Even if you believe the slander that blocking out Ariel's influence on Nirn would kill all life the same way it would on Earth, you have to consider that there are entire cities underground that never see Magnus at all. Anyway, the point here is that my client vehemently denies any allegations that they are attempting to end life on Tamriel, and would like to further state that from their perspective, not blotting out Magnus is the same as trying to end all life on Tamriel for them. After all, what right do men and Myr have to own the day and night when the minority vampire race not only represents less than a percentage of all the life on Tamriel, but also must hide for more than half the day or risk their skin burning off? That hurts, you know. Is it really wrong to expect accommodations for allowing my clients to live their lives normally? Sure, your life may change, but it would put everyone on equal footing. And isn't that what's right? In the end, by siding with my client, you not only get to experience the ultimate power fantasy, exclusive to Skyrim, and achieve what every vampire has been trying to achieve in every piece of media since they started existing, but you also bring a moral good to the Elder Scrolls universe by finally helping this downtrodden and hated group achieve the equality they have been fighting for since they started existing. Not only that, but you'll feel more at peace, since Exhibit D, the playthrough, actually makes more sense. There is this moment that leads me to believe that the ability to choose the Dawnguard was only added after the entire DLC was written. Remember the first thing that happens in the questline? That's right, you find the daughter of Cold Harbor, Serana. Now, let's examine the next sequence of events. You're not allowed to kill Serana. She's forced to be your companion. Then, she forces you to take her back to her father. Then, if you ignore the pleadings of my client, and common sense, you leave her there, alone, surrounded by people she clearly doesn't like. You don't have the option of fighting everyone to save her. At this moment, the game itself is clearly showing you that the logical choice is to stay with the Elder Scroll and Serana. Consider for a moment that Harkon has been using the entire court to search for Serana for somewhere between 1,000 and 3,000 years. If you ignore all of that and simply walk away, show up to Isran's fort and shrug your shoulders, the very next thing that happens is this girl appears with the Elder Scroll in a fort dedicated to killing her and her people.
In the meantime, we're going to get to the bottom of why a vampire showed up here looking for you. Let's go have a little chat with it, shall we? This vampire showed up while you were away. I'm guessing it's the one you found in Dim Hollow Crypt. Says it's got something really important to say to you. So let's hear it.
How did she escape? I don't know. How did she know where to go? Well, I'm not sure. Why didn't Harkon take the scroll from her? I guess you have to use your imagination. Why didn't the Dawnguard kill her on sight? I have no idea. Why would Isran leave her in his fort unattended and wait for you to arrive with the two new guys? Well, for a shocking reveal, I guess. Serana has no motivations. She does whatever you want her to do, even if doing it makes no sense at all. On the other hand, my client can offer you a much more convincing and straightforward version of events. If you join Castle Volkihar, you also join the plan to rule the world. You embrace your greatness. Your motivation is right here. Serana's motivations are right there. If you choose the Dawnguard, the story stays she wants to visit her dad, who she was hiding from, just so she can leave immediately. If you join the vampires, you get to be an evil vampire with your best friend who always believed in the plan to rule the world. This way, the only problem with Harkon's plan is that of Harkon himself. Consider also the release of Valerica. If you choose the Dawnguard, why do they let her stay in the now captured castle? Surely, telling the Dawnguard to not kill Serana is almost too much already. Telling them to not kill two daughters of Cold Harbor is simply laughable. Well, just try not to think about it, I guess. If you keep the vampires around after you destroy her husband, she joins your court as the High Lady.
I see nothing preventing my return to Tamriel. Allow me to gather some of my things, and I'll head back to Castle Volkihar. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you.
Todd may not have given us the ability to romance Serana, but why take the apprentice when you can have the master? You're now the owner of the castle and everything in it, right? That means Valerica's also... Oh, wait. You can't romance her in the game either? Well, put it in the game, Todd! Anyway, Serana is another matter entirely, since choosing the vampires means Exhibit E, Serana is treated better. Despite the fact that the Dawnguard will refuse to kill Serana for no reason, there's still the matter of how she's treated while not being killed. Set aside your personal feelings for a moment. The game is going to force this girl on you no matter what. But if you choose the Dawnguard, that means they're going to tell you how much they don't trust her, how they would kill her if only they had the chance, and how she's an abomination. You'll travel around hearing about how your friend is a bloodsucker.
All right, you've heard what it has to say. Now tell me, is there any reason I shouldn't kill this blood-sucking fiend right now? Set my hatred aside? Not a chance. It's what keeps me strong. You hear me? Don't feel like a guest, because you're not. You're a resource. You're an asset.
I'm guessing that if you are playing the Dawnguard DLC at all, you must like Serana at least a little bit. So, on the off chance you like Serana, on the slim odds that you want to keep her as your companion, why would you subject your friend to this? Why would you join the Silverbloods and insist that Aela hang out with you? My client wants to ask you a simple question. If you like Serana, why not join her? Why not become a member of her family? Why not make this easy on your friend? Don't force her to be around people who hate her and her kind. That's just wrong. Why not find a greater appreciation for all things my client can offer you? Once you warm up to one vampire, you probably want her to be treated better, don't you? I mean, what are you? A monster? And once you do join, I'm sure you would agree that Exhibit F, the Radiant quests, are genuinely better. You know what Skyrim has always needed? I've said this from the very beginning. I just feel like there aren't enough quests where you go into ancient ruins and find things. Oh, and specifically, Dwemer ruins. Yeah, surely any DLC added to the game should focus on delving into Dwemer ruins in order to find, I don't know, say a blueprint or two. You hear that? I sound insane, don't I? No, but seriously, think about it this way. If you choose the Dawnguard, you get to go into some ruins and have some missions where you kill vampires. If you choose the Volkihar clan, you have missions where you go into some ruins, and have missions where you kill vampires, and you have missions where you convince people to join the clan, and you have missions where you turn your spouse into a vampire, and you have missions where you plant evidence to frame Dawnguard members for murder, and you have another where you get to kill a Dawnguard spy. Do you see what I'm getting at? Why do you insist on making your game more linear? The content that you have never played before is right here in vanilla Skyrim. I can understand not making a choice based on the Radiant quests. No one ever does. But My client would like to point out that your choice is for all parts of the DLC, not just for the parts that you play either way, no matter what, and are tired of by your third playthrough. I feel pretty sure that there are those of you watching that have never experienced the Vampire Radiant quests. And while handwritten quests are always better than Radiant ones, these Radiant quests are some of the funnest I've ever played. Dare I say, some of the most fun in all of Skyrim. And one of these Radiant quests, just one of them, manages to make the vampire form even better, and we have Exhibit G. You get to make the Vampire Lord even more powerful than it already is. Now, I've already conceded that the Vampire Lord makes you easily the most powerful being in the game, but then, as if that wasn't enough, you can add even more power to it. My client would like to remind you that while both sides of this regrettable conflict will have a fetch quest for you to go do, only they will allow you to find artifacts of Daedric origin that allow you to better harness the ancient power nearly directly from its source. And as if that wasn't enough, you can find ancient pieces of a dead and decayed vampire. How do they make you stronger? I don't know. I try not to think about it. Look, Skyrim has always gotten its strength from its breadth. Sure, The Witcher 3 is a better game if you want that experience, but have you ever played it as a vampire? You ever play it as a werewolf? I didn't think so. You can't. You can only play Witcher games as a Witcher, specifically Geralt. Skyrim lets you do whatever you want, and to play as whatever creature or race you want. So don't miss the opportunity. To put it simply, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I ask you, which sounds more interesting? Your 10th crossbow upgrade? Or finding the ribcage of an ancient vampire that somehow exudes power by its very existence, bringing it back to your personal castle where it is hidden away, making your personal army stronger? Which would you rather have? Another ugly, albeit powerful, dwarven crossbow, or a ring given to you by Molag Bal himself to help you better subjugate the horde of ever-growing normal humans and elves you are surrounded with? And then, when it's all over, you don't have to pretend to be some powerful being, because the objects themselves will actually make you a powerful being, which of course is its own Exhibit H. The post-DLC world makes much more sense. Now, in addition to actually becoming more powerful, lore-wise, you actually get to use this power in your game. Usually in lesser quests, in lesser games, this means you have to use your imagination. Sure, you might be the leader of the Dark Brotherhood, but you don't really do anything with that, do you? Sure, you might be the Dragonborn and be able to literally destroy or take over the entire nation of Skyrim on your own if you felt like it, but the game doesn't let you do that. You have to pretend that you are doing that, if that's your desire. No, for a game that seemingly places you in charge of the most important organizations in an entire nation, there's precious little to suggest that you actually are that powerful. That is, until now. That all changes once you accept my client. If you choose to embrace the path that my client sets you on, you become the owner of a castle. Not a principal, not a listener, the actual lord of a court. Instead of imagining how it would feel to have people you see cower when they meet you, now you can just experience it directly. Instead of pretending a court serves you, now you actually have one of your own. Ask yourself, would you rather finish this DLC and go back to the way things were before you started, except now you have a crossbow? Or live the life of an ancient vampire lord you took from the one who you killed for it? Embrace your destiny, my friends. Don't pretend to live a power fantasy. Actually live one. And if you happen to have a nagging little conscience, don't worry, because it actually suits the game more, considering Exhibit I. This is what Skyrim was made for. If you really wanted to play Skyrim as a so-called goody two-shoes, you'd be looking at a very short game. If you're trying to avoid entanglements with Daedra and keep your nose clean, I'm afraid you simply bought the wrong game. The Elder Scrolls 4 might have been more your speed. Best not to play the Companion's Quest, they serve her scene these days. You can't join the Murderer faction or the Steal Things faction either. No, I'm afraid I must point out that my client is far from the most evil in the game. I mean, by the end of a run, most Dragonborns owe their souls to no less than 8 different entities, and only a few of them are nice at all. In other words, becoming a vampire lord and giving into the machinations of Molag Bal might actually make more sense for the Dragonborn, considering they already serve Sithis, Nocturnal, Hircine, and Hormeus Mora. If we were forced to choose a canon ending to this quest, what do you think it would be? The good guys win? Or would you rest assured that my client would surely be the choice? And with that, I rest my case. 9 reasons to choose the vampires in the Dawnguard DLC. What do you think of this new format? Think of this as the video game courtroom, and I'm the prosecutor. Anyway, if you want to hear all the reasons you should join the Dawnguard instead of the Volkihar clan, stay tuned. I'll be posting that in a week.
To help you remain tranquil in the face of almost certain death, smooth jazz will be deployed in 3, 2, 1.
If you liked what you saw, make a plan to block out the sun and manifest it into a prophecy and call it the Sistil Ravenrod. Then subscribe. It really helps with the channel. And until next time, I'll see you around.